Welcome to the special edition of the Real Bold Truth Show. I am your host, Chanel Walker-Bailey, coming to you from the Heart Ministry Radio studio. And as you can see, I am not here by myself. I have two special, anointed, called for such a time as this women of God on my set. Right here, I have Miss Dana Barnett. Dana, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. And then to my far end, I have the lovely Miss Shayla Dennis. Shayla, welcome to the show.
Thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Oh, I am so glad to have these two young ladies on the show. Just to give you a little background about our connection. Miss Dana has been in my life for about 10 years, and Miss Shayla just came into my life like a storm about 30 days ago. And when I consider their experiences and their testimonies and the things that they've shared with me in this time frame, I said, oh my goodness, I have to have these young ladies on my program. And so the title of this segment is called The Mentality Makeover for Teens, special edition for women. And so when we think about that topic, teenagers go through an awful lot when they are in those adolescent years, especially when they're beginning to transition from being a teenager to an adult. And so I thought that that was a real and a bold topic to actually begin to talk about, because the teenage years can be confusing, they can be challenging, they can just be so questionable. And so you two, I brought you on here because I've been out of my teens for about a good, I don't know, about 20 something years now. But you two have not, it hasn't been that long since you exited those years. Not that long at all. So your wisdom is really important on this show. So let's talk about Dana, what do you think is one of the most challenging things about being a teenage girl?
For me, honestly, it was the self-confidence.
Okay.
I didn't have self-confidence at all in myself. I was heavy set. And all my friends, I was always the only Black girl there in the group.
Okay.
So it was basically where I didn't have any confidence in myself. I didn't have the long hair. I wasn't skinny. And even with like going through puberty and things, I didn't go through it the same way other girls did, where they got more attention from boys and things like that.
Okay. So definitely dealing with your confidence was huge. Yeah. What about you, Shayla?
The most challenging thing for me as a teenager growing up, I would say, was not knowing my worth. And I didn't realize how common it was amongst, teenage girls. But really just not being taught who I was in God, that I kind of had to figure out who I was on my own.
Right. And that was a process, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it took some time. So what did you, Dana, going back to you, how did you deal with that peer pressure? You said your confidence was affected. So I'm assuming that there may have been peer pressure from the folks that you were around. How did you deal with that?
Honestly, with me, like the way I was raised and everything, I was taught not to give in to peer pressure, right from wrong. And always, my mom always said, just pray about it.
Right.
And you listen to God, because He always give you an answer. And with me, I didn't really dabble too much I didn't give too much into peer pressure.
Okay.
So I would pray a lot about it anyway, because I didn't know myself either.
Right.
At all. So when you don't know yourself as a young adult or a young teen, definitely a female.
Right.
You definitely can go by the wayside and like lose your way a little bit. And that was always my fear, because I've seen a lot of people go in a different direction, a negative direction, because they don't know who they are.
Right.
So I did pray a lot about it and everything, and I did try to avoid some things. I wasn't perfect, but God definitely helped me get through it.
Okay, that's excellent. What about you? How did you deal with peer pressure, Shayla?
Peer pressure was different for me.
Okay.
And I think when you kind of start to understand, like, they make you think that peer pressure is just, someone putting a blunt in your face and saying, smoke this, smoke this, but not seeing that peer pressure can also be from people that you trust, friends or even family members, right? But I think for me, I was kind of the same. If I wanted to do something, I did it. If I didn't want to do it, I wasn't going to do it, right? But sometimes I think we forget about the peer pressure that comes from the outside sources that aren't even anywhere near our children. For example, we were the generation of social media, right? So a lot of our peer pressure comes from the celebrities that we were seeing on TV, the videos that we're watching, the music that we're listening to, the movies and everything like that. So we kind of learned from those resources, and that to me was the pressure to look like these video vixens or you know,
I
like
can
that.
relate to that, yeah.
That was the pressure for me.
So the pressure wasn't necessarily in your inner circle, but it was this perception that the world was giving you on TV, and you need to look like this, and you need to move like this, and you need to be shaped like this in order to get to what it is that you want to get to.
Yes.
That's major, because when I think about myself as a teen, we didn't have, you know, the technology that you all have today. And so that peer pressure came from the people that we hung out with in school and in our neighborhood and in community. But you have that on top of the pressures from TV. So that's huge. But I'm so happy to hear that neither one of you were impacted that much by the people that you were around.
Yeah,
so that's good.
I'm sorry, I didn't even think about that. That was a good point. I didn't think about that.
Yeah. Do you want to add on to that?
Yeah, because I remember it brought me back to a memory I had. When I was younger, I was watching, I believe it was Kate Moss, or I know it's Tyra Banks, I think.
Tyra Banks.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a runway show. And I remember getting so mad and really, really upset. Like I had like a really dark sadness inside. I had no idea where it came from.
Right.
But I was like, I can never look like that. And I'm looking at myself in the mirror. I went to the bathroom, looking in the mirror. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so fat. Oh my God, I'm so fat. And I'm like just pinching myself. And I'm like, but I love food so much. Like, I don't know how, you know what I mean?
I'm going to have both, you know?
Exactly. But it was just where it's like, it does make you look at yourself different. And when the young girls, it really is hard to get over that sometimes. Right. When you look at it, it's like, I'm never going to be that way. Or when you constantly hear, don't worry about it, you're going to grow into it. Or, you know, your body will shape out. My mom always told me that. You don't always want to listen to it because you want it right now.
Right.
You know what I mean? And your other friends, they're growing faster than you. They're getting more attention than you. And also with, you know, being with the skin color that we are, you know what I mean? And we tend to have like, you know, like a lot of more white friends when we're younger than, you know, when we are older. And that was always me. And it's just like you look around and it's like, oh, I don't have what they have. And look at my kinky hair. And how come, you know, they always say, oh, well, how come you have to put a swim cap on to get into the pool? You know what I mean? And it's like, you know, because, you know, we're reading everything. Yeah. And it's just where it makes you really reevaluate yourself.
Wow. Wow. Really, that's huge. So when you think about those things now, what advice would you give a young lady right now who is dealing with this issue, the peer pressure from, you know, television and magazines and that kind of thing, and their social circle? Shayla, what advice would you give?
The advice that I would give is just to understand that God made you different, that God made you uniquely you, and just to seek His will of who He wants you to be in your life. You know, sometimes I think we force that, you know, you can be whatever you want to be, but not acknowledging that God created us for a purpose and that He has a plan for our lives, you know? And once you're able to start to figure out what that is, it's an amazing feeling to walk in that and no one can tell you different, you know?
Right.
And it gives you a lot of confidence.
Okay. All right. So that sounds like just accepting and knowing that God made me special, different, unique. There is nobody on this earth that can do what I can do because God has made me. It doesn't matter what anybody else says. What do you have to? Do you have anything to add on?
Honestly, took the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah.
It is very hard being a young teenage girl. However, the thing is that where you do have to understand that God made you in a very unique way. And you don't have something just because you don't have something that what other people have, they don't have what you have either. And not everybody understands your light, and I know nobody understands your value. And even if you don't, you always pray on it. My thing is that where understand is that everybody's just completely special in their own way. Completely special in their own way. And everybody will get through it.
Yeah, we will all survive and get through it. But you know how it just seems like when you're in it, it's never going to end.
It's forever.
Or when is this going to be over? When is it going to be my time to shine? When is it going to be me feeling confident on top of the world? What would you say to young girls when it comes to the circle of people that they hang around? Because that level of influence, when I was thinking about peer pressure, I was thinking about people that you associate yourself with. What would you say, Shayla, about selecting people to hang out with?
One, I would say, I think it starts with you, with the inside. And you have to remember that, you know, other people are feeling the same way that you are inside. Sometimes you feel like you're the only one feeling that way, right? And I think for me, it was to learn to have compassion for other people who were different. You know, even if I did, even if I didn't understand their difference.
Oh, that's good. That's
and
good.
I think that learning to accept other people helped me accept myself.
That,
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
that is really good.
That was the biggest thing. But also, I just had to learn not not to care, what other people thought, because I was kind of the opposite. I was always so small, and I was like, I want a big butt, and I want, all the girls they're all, developed, and I was trying to stuff stuff, and so I'm like, so for me, I just had to stop caring, and it's easy to say, but when you truly just let go, um, it helps you.
Wow.
It helps you move forward.
Oh, this is awesome. This is so good. I could keep going talking about this subject for time, for a long time. But we're going to take a short break here, and when we come back, we're going to finish this discussion about the mentality makeover for teenage girls.
We have the power within ourselves.
Welcome back to the Real Bold Truth Show with our special segment, The Mentality Makeover for Teens. Again, I am here with the lovely Dana Barnett and Shayla Dennis. And before we took our break, we were talking about the impact of selecting your friends that you're around as a teenage girl. And Shayla answered that question. So I would like Dana to respond to the same.
Well, with me, because of my self-confidence issues, I really basically took anybody who would be my friend. So it wasn't where I would pick and choose, or I wasn't picky with anyone. Anyone who was, whether they're different, green, purple, white, black, don't matter.
Right.
If they gave me some type of attention, like if I felt that love that was different from my family, then I took it.
And they were your friend.
Yep.
Didn't matter. Even if you saw red flags that this person probably is not in my best interest, you have some interest in me and being my friend, you're going to be my friend.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah,
wow.
I had to pray hard about that, because that does you have to be real careful with that too, because definitely as a female, it will carry into your adult life when it comes to dealing with men and everything, you know what I mean?
Right.
So it really has to be, you really have to be careful about it.
Okay. Did you want to respond to that at all?
No,
she
took care of it.
That was a pretty good point to bring up, because like you, Dana, when I was growing up as a teen, I also had confidence issues, very low self-esteem, and if anybody, is there one? It's like in the church, you're like, well, is there one? Just one. Can I just get one friend? And I don't care what you were doing. You could have been into drugs. You could have been into, having sex. You could have been doing all kinds of things. If you were going to be my friend, that was the only standard that I had. It was the only requirement that I had to be a friend. And so, although that was my mindset back then, it was a learning experience. I knew how to begin to select friends in the future. And so, that is huge amongst teenage girls. So let's go into the next topic. How prevalent do you think depression is amongst teenagers? And I'll point that to Shayla.
That was a really good question. One, because honestly, I never really experienced depression or suicidal thoughts, right? Until my older years.
Gotcha.
Right? But as a teen, and now I actually see that there's a lot of people around me. I know a lot of people that have dealt with this, and I couldn't really relate to that,
Right.
But mine more so came after the children. It was, postpartum, but there was a lot of other things that came in, a lot of other factors. However, I always tried to look at the upside of things, and I always thought about people who were worse off, that yes, I may be going through this, or I might be dealing with this. And I think also that I didn't even know that I was actually dealing with certain things. I just thought I was living life like everyone else. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I didn't even, if I was dealing with depression, I didn't know about it.
You're talking about when you were a teen?
Yes,
Right.
when I was a teen. I didn't, and I didn't know about it until I got older, and then I realized, that was a depressing time for me.
Right.
But I think I handled it in other ways. And I just always thought about other people, what they were going through and how other people may not have just the simple things that I had in life. And it taught me how to appreciate the life that I did have.
Okay. All right. That's real. What about you, Dana? What about you when it comes to depression?
I really think that it is heavy with teens now, and even like with little kids too.
Yeah.
And with me, I dealt with it. It hit me hard for a long time.
Yep.
But it was just because of my mom and my dad, what they were going through, how my family was very, very separated, even though we're all in the same house.
Yep.
And just with me being so by myself and always constantly getting bullied and picked on.
Yeah.
I went through it because it was like oh dang, nobody sees my worth, nobody sees my value,
Right.
but nobody can see that if I can't see it in myself either.
Right.
So with me, it took me a long time, like honestly, really a couple of years ago, and I'm 28. So just a couple of years ago, where my mom got me back into church slowly but surely, because she's been doing it since I was a child, and she gave me more support through the church, and where I can actually, I can understand that where God put me through this for a reason,
Right.
and it's making me stronger,
Right.
and it made me stronger as an adult.
Right. And you know what? And I appreciate you mentioning that about the dynamics of your family, because children go through a lot of trauma, when they are younger. And like you said, when you're going through this level of trauma in your family, in your neighborhood, in your community, kids sometimes are molested. They deal with homelessness. They deal with negative thoughts. They deal with all different types of things. And for a young person to be able to handle those things and put a name to it, like depression, don't understand why they're so sad, don't understand why they're thinking about that death may be better than life, is really, really a hard burden for a child to have. So the topic of depression is prevalent in children and in teens. And I believe the mental and behavioral health community are starting to recognize it a lot more today, so that we have a lot more intervention, so that the depression that I sustained when I was growing up won't be put by the wayside, and depression that you had to go through as a teen won't be put by the wayside for somebody else. So your stories and your testimonies and your real bold truth about what it is that you experienced and endured is necessary now. Right. It is absolutely necessary. No need to feel embarrassed, no need to feel ashamed. Just be real about it, because we've all been through it, right? Right. Yeah. So in wrapping up this particular show, what last words of advice, Shayla, would you give to a young lady that's watching the show, thinking about all the topics that we talked about, self-esteem, image, confidence, depression, pressures? What would you say?
I know it might seem, repetitive, but the one thing that I have to go back to is just how important your relationship is with God, and just completely surrendering your entire life to Him and His will and His call for your life. Because if you don't do that, you have no life. Right. Your life, you know what I mean? It's not, things aren't gonna go the way that they should until you realize who you are in God. Right. And I realized that at a later age, and I always, they say like, I wish I knew then what I know now, right? Yep. So, I know people don't like that being pushed all the time, but I'm telling you, God. Yep. That's it. Yep. That's it.
All right. What about you, Dana?
I actually do agree with that, what you just said. With me, my advice really is to follow God, because honestly, even if you're not even ready for it right now, He already knows you're not ready for it. And the thing is, you need to feel that, because what God did with me, and I'm sure with you and with you, is that where He will put you in the world just so you can come back to Him again. And I did that. And I found Him, 2-3 years ago. Yep. So the thing is that just because it's 2019, everybody's worrying about hot girls summer, whatever it is, and what's on TV and social media and things like that. The thing is that you need to worry about trying to find Christ within yourself, and also learning how to read the Bible and understanding the Bible. Yeah. And I guess that's really
That's a mouthful. That's it. I am so impressed with the way this show turned out, so much that we're going to have part 2, because this is actually part 1 of the Mentality Makeover for Teens with Dana and with Shayla. We will be back. And in the meantime, I'm going to encourage you to stay real, be bold, and always tell the truth in Jesus' name.